All right, Chessmith, welcome back to the show, May 15th, 2026.
Great to be here midway through May.
What are you drinking?
Seavants. I'm drinking Seavants coffee.
Did you get a care package recently?
I sure did. Did you?
I did. I got a bulky one, 4 pounds of coffee.
Seavants coffee, not only is the coffee phenomenal, not only is the Instagram account hilarious, but the merch crushes.
Got the merch too.
I
How's
mean,
that?
very fine merch. Seavants, thank you very, very much. You keep me going, especially regarding the fact that I have been no AG1 for me for a month now, David Lee Scales. I'm basically dying. I might die on air today.
I didn't realize I dropped the ball on that. Now I'm remembering that you did mention it to me once
Yep.
in passing, so I will make a note right now.
But I might be dead by the time it comes, to be quite frank.
We'll tell him to overnight it. Sorry about that, by the way. But listeners, don't die.
Yeah.
drinkag1.com/surf. Get healthy.
Don't die is Bryan Johnson's motto, isn't it?
I mean, that was the name of the documentary. I don't know if it's his own
I
motto.
think I think it's his motto. That's his just do it, is don't die.
That's hilarious.
Yep. I like where
Imagine
I'm glad that we can remember his name now, at least.
the
After
most,
talking
just the most generic American name you could think of.
most generic American name you can think of, but you and I discussed Bryan Johnson, and for those who don't know, Bryan Johnson is that dude who's trying to live forever. He looks waxy and weird, and yeah, he uses his son's blood. But in any case, we talked about him probably 10 or 15 times before actually remembering his name.
It is true. And now we don't talk about him at all, but we can remember the
We
name
don't.
6 months later. Imagine the audacity to not die. Like the audacity that it takes to try to defeat death.
I mean, insane. And again, yeah, we don't talk about him, but I do think about him from time to time because he pops up on, whatever media thing he's doing. And I just think you're living a horrible life and you are going to
Yeah.
die at some point. So
Yeah.
you're taking the one life you have and trying to stretch it forever. And that's not going to happen. It's not going to work. You're going to die and you're going to have lived horribly.
So I have a thought. What if there is an afterlife and the afterlife is spectacular?
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
he's actually committing to whatever the infinite journey that your soul is on. He's committed to like the first portion of it that is the worst portion of it.
Absolutely. He's cheating himself from the good stuff. Yeah. I mean,
That would
that's
be
what,
the
yeah,
ultimate that
that's
would
where
be
I'm
the
going.
ultimate plot twist for him is if he pushes this and extends it to actually 200, if he lives to 200 and then finally fails in his mission to live forever and then goes into the afterlife and it's like, what the hell? What was
Yeah.
I doing? I
Yeah.
extended the misery.
Yep. Nope. And then he gets to the afterlife and they're like, sorry about it. You don't get this either. You tried to live forever. So we're going to put you back on earth. That's what you like. Get back down there, Bryan Johnson.
I have a quick note, production note for listeners. I've been getting some DMs, people mentioning that our shows are disappeared from Spotify. Like years worth of content. I think 100 or 200 shows have been deleted from Spotify. That is true. The problem is they flagged our theme song as copyrighted material, and and so they're deleting it. They're like, "Hey, you guys don't own this. We got to delete it." So what I have to do now is strip the theme song out of the beginning and the end of the show for all those episodes and re-upload those episodes.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, so the show still exists on Apple and all other platforms. It's specifically Spotify's AI, identifier that has caught it. And I don't know why it just caught it now, but sorry. It's a bummer.
What theme song are we going to have moving forward?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just going to strip it completely now. But moving forward, we got to find something that's not copyrighted.
I mean, I guess DJ Seaweed, have at it.
Please. Yeah, that'd be amazing. I mean, we do have original music from DJ Seaweed, I guess, that
Yeah.
we can use. Um, it's kind of a bummer though. Like the world of podcasting was the Wild West, where it was like for years you could just use whatever, and now you can't. And so sucks.
It's a good thing that you didn't go heavy with the Wild West in like middle of shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. Like using Rolling Stones music or something. Would have got busted. Okay, so check this out. I don't know if you're even aware, but Stab High is happening right now.
Ooh, I was not aware. Is it looking fun?
Yeah, it's in Virginia Beach at Atlantic Surf Park, is what they're calling it. It looks incredibly fun. Fun
The
is
wave itself?
the party environment. Like, fun is the operative word because they make it seem like a party. Like, it looks super fun to be there.
Is it packed?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty packed.
I
And they
reckon.
do a
Yeah, keep going.
they do a phenomenal job with who they invite. Like it's a who's who of everybody in the surf world. Like in the commentary booth, in the judging booth, but then also just in the fan space. Like Coco Ho's there, Britt Merrick's there. I mean, obviously he has team riders, but I literally think he was in New Zealand yesterday.
And
And
then
he
flew into
flew.
VB.
It seems like it. I thought he was in New Zealand. I could be mistaken.
That wave looks really fun.
Yeah, the wave. I mean, it's appropriate for doing airs for sure. Like they've figured out how to put a perfect like soft launch ramp and landing pad. So it's a perfect wave on the takeoff. You could pump a few times and then you got a nice section. So as for doing airs, I think it's ideal. But in regard to sorry, I forgot to turn my messages off. Stab Magazine, their production quality too. Like the graphics packages, the replays, it's very, very slick nowadays. Like they have figured out how to do it right. So it's a great entertaining viewing
Good on you,
experience.
Stab. I wonder if Stab is trying to move toward its own non-novelty competition, its own mini tour.
I've been thinking about it because I'm wondering what the return on this investment is. I cannot imagine it makes money. I mean, they definitely have sponsors, major sponsors. It's presented by Yeti. They have Vans, they have Monster, they have Quicksilver, and then they cut to commercial as well every 10 minutes or something. So there's revenue opportunities there, but it still has to cost a ton of money. Like obviously renting out the wave pool and then all the people that they get to come, I would imagine they might have to pay an appearance fee. And then
They're
they're
not paying
also
appearance
probably
fee. They're flying.
what?
They're not paying them. They're flying them out, probably putting them up.
Well, so that's a lot of expense right there. And then the video production is huge too. So I mean, I think they're probably into the hundreds of thousands. And whether or not that can make money or they can return that with the revenues from the sponsors, I would be surprised.
I bet they're not making a ton, but I bet they're making enough, and everybody's getting paid.
Well, I think it also is worth doing. Like, even if it's a break even proposition, I feel like they are kind of cementing themselves as a media and content creating powerhouse at this point. And
I mean,
that builds up their other stuff.
especially in the day and age of dead internet, right? Like the internet is going away, and so live events and this, that kind of activity is how you survive.
Totally. And it gives them so much credibility in the surf space too. And especially for the young up and comers, the Bottle Rockets division, the Ladybirds division, as they call them. This is kind of like the pinnacle of those kids' competitive experience right now. And they're going to be around in this space for the next 10 and 20 years. And so you know, they're now in love with Stab Magazine and what Stab Magazine has provided for them. And ultimately it's helping build the careers.
Yep.
Like the kid Huey Vaughn, who's won a couple of times now, Joel Vaughn, I think it's Joel Vaughn's younger brother, largely has these wins to credit for the size of his profile.
Fantastic. Good on you, Stab. Keep going.
The other thing that I like that they're doing with is these multiple divisions and the invite list. they're inviting a lot of people that I've never heard of before, but who are totally qualified to be there and are surfing phenomenally. So,
See,
and to be honest, I don't know most of them. Like 9 out of 10 of the people they get up and riding, I've never seen it before. They show their name. I'm like, I've never even heard of them.
that's what I wonder sometimes is if you could do it, obviously the World Surf League has the monopoly on, or we think the monopoly on top level talent, right? In terms of competitive pro surfing. But I wonder if you change the format a bit, and I don't know how specifically, but how many other good, incredible surfers there are out there that we have never heard of? Like they, wouldn't beat Gabriel Medina one on one, but would be very fun to watch. I don't know, not even as a second tier kind of thing. Just if the format was different.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think to get to the Gabriel Medina level, you have to really be identified young and then groomed for a long period of time. And what's great about these young kids is that they don't, we haven't got to the grooming process yet. They don't, it's just raw talent basically. And I think there's a
Call,
lot of those that exist.
calling Jeffrey Epstein. We got to get to the grooming portion of the young kids' lives.
Well, grooming in terms of, not that I need to explain it, but traveling the world to the best waves in the world that costs time and money,
Yeah.
and so if your talent is identified when you're 14 and 15 and then you can have that support to go do those things, that's then where you get to kind of the Gabriel Medina level plus a bunch of competition. But right now the raw talent exists for these young kids, and I think Stab has enough partnerships and connections in Japan and Western Australia and Southern California to where they know who those people are in their local lineups, putting on the best performances. And so that's where they're calling from.
Real smart to throw it in this one. I know they move them around, but in VB because nobody has like passion to go out like East Coast surf fans.
So true. And from the T&E standpoint of putting people up in hotels, it's
Yeah.
cheaper.
Yeah.
VB's probably cheaper than a lot of other places.
Yep. Next year in Myrtle Beach.
Exactly. I was talking about the people that they invite. Like I saw Aaron Cormican in the judging booth,
Fun.
and it's like so cool. Like Aaron Cormican, Parker Coffin, the Geiselmans are there. CJ Hobgood's in the commentary booth. So it's like a real mixed bag, but fantastic bag.
It's interesting. I think when you get those kind of next level, the pioneer aerial talents in the judging booth, that's what they do at Natural Selection for the snowboard. It's all legendary backcountry riders who are the judges, and so nobody says boo about the judging because like best in the game are looking at it. And if they thought that one was better, then that one was better, right? Which I would
Yeah.
imagine the same is true in aerial surfing specifically of like, you have these guys in there, they know the tweaks, they know who's gonna say that Aaron Cormack got it wrong.
Yeah, and it's a mixed bag. It's like there's Cormican, but then there's also Chippa Wilson, and their styles are so different that, tech versus I don't know what you would call Cormican style. But yeah, there's a variety of they're coming from different perspectives, and you can't question either of their credibilities.
Yep.
So it's pretty fun. It's not like, I wouldn't stop my day or reschedule the podcast just so I could watch this, but it's the perfect viewing to have off on the side while you're working.
Would you rather be watching that or be watching the New Zealand Pro?
Great segue. Wow, that was horrific yesterday. Did you watch any of it at all?
I only watched part of Morgan versus Siblick versus Ethan Ewing.
Did, did you have Ethan Ewing as your pick in Second Chance Survival League?
Sure did not. I did not. I'm still rocking. I forgot to sign up for Second Chance. I should have second chanced myself, but I didn't want to jinx my first chance. I'm still rolling in the real league.
That's my bad. I forgot that you're still in the real league. So who'd you pick?
I picked Leonardo Fioravanti, so I'm waiting to come up, which was
Man,
risky. I went risky. I was going to pick Lob, and then I saw Lob went through, but I was also going to pick Jordy, and Jordy did not go through. So I feel like my roll of the dice with Leonardo Fioravanti. I felt it was going to be a crappy, or I knew, I didn't feel, I read that it was going to be a crappy forecast basically for the whole thing. And I thought, backside surfing goes better in crappy conditions.
Unless you're Gabriel Medina or Italo Ferreira.
Did they get knocked out?
No, I'm saying they can go. They'll surf this wave better front side than anybody backside.
Oh
even when
yeah,
it's cold.
totally. But
So
yeah, like if it's crappy conditions, I just feel those you can do those silly kind of make it look like you're going big backside that you can't do going frontside.
Well, if you knew what the forecast is, that would have been a smart time to pivot away from Jordy because Jordy's got to be the worst pick in crappy small lefts.
Man, but yeah, what were your impressions? You just thought it was horrible.
It was just horrific. Like we got back from like dinner last night and I'm like, "Oh, I think this is on." So I pull it up and I saw the very first glimpse was like a shin high wave of somebody trying their best to get a couple wiggles off. And I was like, this is an abomination. Like if we are the World Surf League and we're running in these conditions, that honestly, I wouldn't even paddle out. If I went to New Zealand on a surf trip, paid my own way, got there, saw those waves, be like, well, I guess we're getting coffee. Like I would not have paddled out. It was horrific.
How hyped do you think that Luke Cederman is? That it looks so bad that so many people were just had their travel agent on call, ready to book flights to Raglan, New Zealand, and then oh, never mind, let's go to Queensland instead.
I thought about him too. I want to see what his take is. He's going to have a hilarious take on day one.
Yeah,
If he doesn't, if he hasn't already posted it.
I like that. I'm impressed that the World Surf League is leaning into Luke Cederman.
Are they?
I think so. I think he like was there. I think he called it on yesterday and stuff. He's been like there. I see him always. Yeah, he's there, and so
Good.
and it seems like they're using him as they should.
Good. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, I watched the free surfs leading up to it, and of course there was swell. It was head high, and even then, like, because I haven't really seen a ton of this wave surfed, so it's kind of new to me. It's making a first impression on me. When it was bigger, I was like, it needs to be this size, and even at this size, there's really flat sections. There may be a critical section a couple of times on the wave, but the wave is so long and like 80% of it is flatter sections. And the way that it transitions from a critical section to a flat section is pretty quick. So I think you probably need a lot of experience riding the wave to know how to really time the critical sections. And if it gets smaller, oh my gosh, it's going to be bad because those flat sections, you just can't do anything on them. Like the appropriate board to ride might be a glider or something. Definitely not a short board. So seeing the way that it's all transpired and knowing like if they ran on day one in these conditions, that means that the forecast is even worse because this is what they're opting into. So coming off of the glory of Snapper, this is a real hard reset.
Man, yeah, I realized watching the brief bit that I watched yesterday, and I was like, "What is this?" The only time I've watched Raglan, I think, is thanks to the Raglan Surf Report. So, watch Luke surf that wave a lot on like his A clips, right? And so I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's fun." And then I look at this and think, "That's not the same wave."
No, but I don't know if the clips you're seeing of Luke are even at this part of the wave because
Yeah,
Raglan has like three or four
three
different
parts.
distinct. Yeah. And so I don't know that he surfs Manu Bay
Yeah.
necessarily. I could be wrong. He might, but so anyways, bummer for the WSL. But one interesting talking point, I think, because the surfing is not worth talking about, is that Felipe Toledo chose to ride a board that we've never seen ridden in the WSL like CT level competition before, which is a flatter, wider, like a fish, almost a fish style design, but with two big fins and one small fin. He was calling it a 2+1. It's actually A twin plus one is the appropriate term because 2+1 is generally the large center fin with the small side fins. So it's a twin plus one. And he ripped on it and he ended up winning his heat and he actually did the best surfing of, I think, the day on that board. So I know we've talked in the past when we see certain conditions, like, man, it'd be nice to see somebody ride a fish, or how would the judges even judge that compared to? And we were able to see that yesterday, basically.
Did he rip it or did he surf it in a progressive kind of way?
So he surfed both those things. He ripped it in a progressive way. Like he surfed it to the judging criteria, basically. He wasn't like trying to get all styled out.
Yeah. Okay. So, but he still surfed the board the way it was. It didn't look awkward. It didn't look like, oh man, here's a guy trying to go ham on a fish.
It was the right board for the conditions, and he surfed it like he normally surfs. Like he was trying to blow the back out of it.
That's a smart man, that Felipe Toledo, to make that call.
Well, I was wondering why he even had the board with him, or did he go to retail and buy it off the shelf? I mean, it was a Sharp Eye, so it's from his shaper. He actually said that he has ridden the board a lot over the last few years. Like he's worked on it with Marcio, rides it when the waves suck, basically. And but I didn't know like if he actually packed this in his bag and brought it with him because he did look at the forecast, or maybe he bought it off the shelf.
I mean, I wonder if this is going to be sort of a watershed moment on the CT. If everybody's looking at him thinking, yeah, why aren't we doing this more?
Well, I should hope not, because it means the waves are crappy if people start doing it. Like the only reason he's riding that board is because the waves were less than knee high.
It was that bad. I feel the Ewing Siblek heat was. Did they not have any waves in that one either? Was I just dreaming?
I didn't watch that heat. I mean, I saw a couple of clips where there was maybe somebody was on a set wave, and it was shoulder high or something. But I watched for on and off for about an hour last night, and it was slow and small.
The cursed World Surf League. They really have been getting walloped with the great days the day before.
Absolutely, which is why they need to heed our ongoing advice.
Listen, World Surf League, we're here for you.
So follow up from last week. We showed the video last week of the monk seal having a rock thrown at its head, and then the video of somebody being punched out. We were uncertain if it was the same guy that threw the rock. Turns out, in the past week, he has been identified. So we have his name. It's confirmed that he was the one who was beaten up in that video. So, yay. Hawaiian Senator Brenton Awa presented a letter of recognition to the, quote, environmental activist who beat up the guy.
And said that they should play that video on loop in every flight coming into Hawaii, which is so fantastic.
I mean, what a thing to say. And also said, like, we're going to protect his anonymity, basically.
Yeah.
Like, here's a letter of recognition. So we're patting you on the back, and we're not going to out you either. In case there is anybody who feels differently than we do, that you should be punished or maybe sued even by Igor, we're not going to reveal who you are.
The Igor, man, because not only did he get socked in the face, not only did he get whatever fine he's going to get, he got arrested on top of everything else. And his business got outed. Like I saw Instagram, the Instagram sleuth brigade go down. This is his business. It's in Kent, Washington, and so I'm sure his business just got inundated with, nasty phone calls, canceled everything. Like, wow, what a silly mistake to throw a rock at a monk seal.
I mean, I've seen his address was posted online as well. So to your point, imagine having your life. I mean, how gnarly is it? I know we agree with everything that's happened to him because I don't know why we want this mob justice, but how gnarly is it for him to make one bad decision basically while you're on vacation in Hawaii? I would argue that bad decision is representative of his lifestyle and probably a lot of other bad decisions that he probably makes. He just seems like a bad person, because I cannot imagine wanting to throw that size rock at any animal randomly. So anyways, but how gnarly is it for his entire life to be ruined based on one bad decision?
I mean, especially too the way, and I don't know for a fact, but the way he's kind of stumbled after throwing the rock, he looked like he was probably boozed, right?
I didn't make that assessment, but it's possible.
I mean, he throws the rock and he like stumbles, right? And so I was thinking, that's like a full on boozy stumble. So do something dumb and boozy, and then go home. When you get to your home, you don't even know what happened. You get punched in the face, and then your life is wrecked.
Truly wrecked.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, he's been arrested on federal charges of violating an Endangered Species Act and Marine Mammal Protection Act. So I guess there's two different charges there. And he's already made his first court appearance. So he's already going through the legal proceedings. And the fine, it looks like it's going to be around $50,000. I said it could be up to $100,000 last week. The number I've seen more recently is that's possible, but it might be around $50,000 based on precedent or what's happened in the past. So yeah, and then your business, your professional life now is really going to be tarnished for at least a period of time. Maybe not forever, but this is horrific consequence for him.
I mean, and because not only, do you have people who love Hawaii and all that on you, you've got I'm sure every animal rights hardcore activist is engaged here too, right? So it's not just like, okay, this is going to die down. It's a Hawaiian issue. Hawaiians are mad. It's going to die down. No, you've got the world now. This was a international story. You have the entire world and any hardcore animal activist engaged to wreck your life.
Do you know why I think this has gone so viral and resonated so deeply?
Because it unites. Everybody feels the same amount of rage about it.
No, that's part of it. But the reason I think it unites everybody is because his name is Igor and he looks the way that he looks.
He really does look like an Igor.
He is the perfect enemy. His name, his looks, the perfect enemy from a Westerner's perspective. Like this comes straight out of like 1980s, like
Rambo movie.
Yeah, exactly. Rambo movie or Rocky, where he's fighting,
Ivan Drago.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. His name's Igor Litvinchuk. I mean, I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it, but it's a villain's name. And he looks like a villain too. He's got a stupid looking face.
He is a James Bond. He's a James Bond villain. The one, not the main villain, but the second tier villain, the one who dies first.
He's the Timu version.
Yeah.
Like he would never make it into a James Bond film. This would be like the straight to video version of a James Bond like spoof.
If you're Igor, I think he's Ukrainian. So that makes people who are pro-Ukraine probably a little sad. They probably really wish he was Russian. But if you were Igor, what's your play? How do you spin this?
Disappear, change your name, wear a wig.
But your business is wrecked. Do you start a new business under a new name?
You know what? I often fantasize about a reinvention. Just like how nice would it be? My life is set on like a pretty permanent path at this point. Imagine the gift of the witness protection program where you're just like going somewhere brand new, starting from scratch, nobody knows your name, and you get to reinvent your entire being.
Amazing. What would you do? Would you start a surf podcast network?
This is an interesting thought exercise. Look, I said that I often fantasize about it. I actually have never fantasized about it, but I rewatched Goodfellas recently, and that's how the film ends, of course, is he goes into witness protection. I was like, that'd be interesting, like restarting. But I didn't go far enough down the exercise to actually think up what I would do. What would you do?
The same exact thing I'm doing now, probably, just because I wish that I could go into a witness protection program that was I was moved from my personality to another personality would be a more effective move.
Is it possible to reshape your personality though? Like let's say they put you in Oklahoma City and lined you up with a job, a good paying job, but you had to be there 9 to 5. And there's no opting out. part of your agreeing to the witness protection program is you have to stay in that job for a year. And they give you a cash payment to start. So you're kind of set up for a period of time. And you have this income coming in every 2 weeks from your job. And you have a house. They buy a house that you set you up in a modest home. Would your personality change after 3 months? Or longer, maybe?
I don't think so. I think this thing has been hard baked at this point. there is, I could try, but I think it would just come out.
Okay.
Or it would go sideways. If I was Igor, though, I think your only play is to lean in, is to go on be the bad guy on the reality show now, right? Like the next, whatever, Traders or something. And you write a book about it. I threw a rock at a monk seal's head. You got to lean in.
So there is absolutely a path to do this nowadays. You start a TikTok account, you start an Instagram account, and you basically follow whatever Jake Paul is doing.
Yeah.
Like I would start posting like gym selfies. I'd be like, man, I looked pudgy in that rock throwing video and I got my butt kicked. So you know what? I'm going to hit the gym and I'm going to start doing MMA. And you document that process. And you can even make this a little bit of a social justice campaign in that I am anti-cancel culture. Yeah, I did the wrong thing. I shouldn't have endangered that monk seal, but I've also been wronged. And then just go hard in the paint. And like you said, look, get an agent, get some reality shows going. There's a way to make money here.
It's absolutely, and I'm sure in this kind of sick world he would have a natural fan base. There would be people who hate animals, and he'd be the Nick Fuentes of animal haters. They'd finally have a voice. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting to let my animal hate flag fly. Down with animals.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can also do some research on how PETA has misstepped and start attacking. PETA's not so great, like they've done X, Y, and Z. So I would dig up dirt on Hawaiian Senator Brenton Awa and find out how you can badmouth him. So
lean in, Igor.
Igor's got some work to do.
Yeah, lean in, Igor. You get to do this. You get the personality. That seems like your personality is rock throwing monk seal. Seems like you would be a good bad guy anyway. Seems like it'll fit like a glove.
This reminds me, how's Hawk Tua doing nowadays?
Yeah, she did that. I bet she's gone, right?
She's gone from my awareness. I mean, I never listened to her podcast or whatever things that she set up as a business. I know that she got busted for that meme coin or crypto scam that she tried to pull off. But I think that might have made her go away a little bit or go into hiding.
Do you think that she made enough off her 5 minutes to live the modest Oklahoman life that you described?
Is that where she was from?
No, but did she make enough to buy a small 2-bedroom home in Des Moines, Iowa?
Tennessee, I think.
And she probably can't afford Tennessee anymore, but a little small town Tennessee. Did she make enough? Or is she like, man, that wrecked me because I spent a couple years chasing this thing thinking I was famous, and actually I was just the next shiny thing and everybody moved on?
We could be wrong. She could still be earning money. But I think that she did earn enough to do something that'll set her up for the rest of her life, or buy real estate or whatever. I just don't know how she spent that money. But I would venture a guess that she's made a couple $1,000,000 off of her celebrity.
So here we go. I just 3 days ago, the Microsoft Network, or MSN, wrote why men love the Hawk Tua girl and why women don't get it. Oh, but that's just about her going viral. 3 days ago, Hawk Tua girl Haley Welch takes victory lap after SEC investigation into crypto scams. So she didn't get busted there, but she denies OnlyFans rumors. So that's where she'll end up.
Which, by the way, I'm Googling what is she doing now. So yeah, she hosts, by the way, I referenced her podcast. The reason I knew she had a podcast was because it has the best name of any podcast I've ever heard.
What is it again? Talk to her. Yeah,
Yes, talk to her.
it's really good. Really good.
Oh, and she just made her acting debut in a Hulu sports comedy, Chad Powers, starring what's his name?
Yeah, it's
Glenn
Glenn
Powell.
Michaels, Glenn Powell. Look at us
Yeah.
being all hating on Haktua. She's climbing the ladder. She is not only a success, she's keeping it going. She was not the next shiny thing.
I'm asking Google how much money Hawk Tua has made, and they're guessing her net worth to be over 1 million,
Okay.
which doesn't mean that's how much she made. She reportedly earned $300,000 in her first month of viral fame. Wow. And she has donated over $500,000 to charity. So
Good on her.
she's made some money. The one that blows my mind the most in this vein is Catch Me Outside Girl.
Which one was that?
Remember she was on Dr. Phil, and she was like some rebellious teenager. Her mom brought her on the show. She was some rebellious teenager, and Dr. Phil like gave her a little talking to, and her response was, "Cash me outside. How about that? Catch me outside." Do you remember this girl?
No, I missed this one.
So this was like 10 years ago. She was telling Dr. Phil basically to go outside and settle it in a
Yeah.
fight. But her catchphrase was, "Catch me outside. How about that?" She's like one of the highest earning. She turned 18 and then joined OnlyFans and is one of the highest earning OnlyFans, creators.
Okay, I have a question, and I have more and more questions about OnlyFans. I've never been on OnlyFans. I'm not going to go on OnlyFans, but I see, obviously every 3 days, a new,
Yes.
kind of ex celebrity joins OnlyFans. And are they
Shannon
all
Shannon Elizabeth recently.
exactly Shannon Elizabeth? And I think she made over $1 million her first whatever, like month on
Week.
OnlyFans.
I think it was a
First
week.
week, yeah, crazy town, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, is it all porn? Like, I mean, is every one of these people who's making that kind of money, are they all doing little strip teases?
I wonder that too. And I think the answer is yes, because that is,
A lot of money.
well, that is the only thing that would pay that well.
Well, but I wonder if there's enough like weirdos out there who just want to see Shannon Elizabeth, spin around in an office chair, while wearing a nightgown.
No, there aren't. I mean, the reality is, if it's not outright porn, it's adjacent to porn. Like it might be, I know there's like feet are really
Yeah.
popular. So it might be her showing her feet or something. And the video of her spinning around in the chair will only garner people's attention for the first video, and she's going to have to up it from there. And
Yeah.
so it either is adjacent to porn or it slides down the slippery slope into porn eventually. But there's nobody she's not going to be able to generate $1 million in a week unless it's different than what you would see from her on her Instagram account.
It's insane to me. The appetite for porn, like, always shocks me, right? It's just never, and you can never get enough, apparently. Like, I mean, Shannon Elizabeth, like, how many porn people are on OnlyFans? Another one joins, and boom, $1 million. Everyone needs to see Shannon Elizabeth now.
Yeah, people's appetite for porn does not surprise me. It's what surprises me is that part of like, why do you need to see Shannon Elizabeth and pay her the amount of money? There is free porn all over the internet at this point in the world. You know what I mean? It's all there because the appetite is so huge. But why would you then? I mean, maybe you're just really into Shannon Elizabeth. Maybe that is your favorite celebrity from when you were young. And so that's why you would pay for that.
I mean, I think that there's probably certainly some kind of that nostalgic, especially when a Shannon Elizabeth goes on, of like, what was she in American Pie or something?
Yeah.
And so, all those boys who like watched American Pie and just were thinking that was the hottest thing ever. And then now you get to go see Shannon Elizabeth nude.
Yep. It's bizarre. Well, back to the Catch Me Outside girl. Her name, I guess, is Bad Baby.
Oh, BHAD. Oh,
Yeah.
that's Bad Baby. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
Bad
How do
Baby.
you know? How do you know her by Bad Baby?
I know Bad Baby from Bad Baby gets in beefs a lot. She
Yeah.
gets in like fights with other of that tier celebrity. And
Yep.
so it'll pop up on the page six or, like it'll pop up on the smut I read, on the TMZs and the page six. That's the smut I read sometimes. And by sometimes I mean every day because I'm looking for a beach crit story that is that stupid. But anyway, I'll see Bad Baby a lot fighting somebody.
So Danielle Bregoli is her real name. She has earned claims to have earned $75 million dollars from her OnlyFans, including a report that she earned $4 million dollars in the first 6 hours that she launched the account.
Okay, question over to you, David Lee Scales. If you could do that, would you? If you could go on and do nudes and all that, you'd spend your day doing nudes. And I'm not
I
going to say
think,
not going to get 75 mil, but you're going to get 4 million
look,
per
I
year.
think we officially found my price. Let's stick with the 75 number so I can maintain a little bit of, you know, dignity, or I can justify plausible deniability or something. For 75 million bucks for Bad Baby's net worth, and I had to like run some OnlyFans account where it was me nude, I
Yeah.
would do it. I would do it. I would sell my soul for it. I don't even need, I mean, the truth is I don't even need 75 million. That's an absurd number.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm greedy at this point. If I'm going to be naked on the internet, I need to be greedy. Greedy too.
Do you think it would impact your family life?
I'm going to pay off my family. I'm going to be like,
Yeah.
hey, mom and dad, I know you have opinions about this. Here's $5 million dollars to not have an opinion.
What do you think? What do you think young Austin would think?
The kid will be living in a mansion. He won't care. He'll be like, this is awesome. I don't care if my dad's naked. You know what I wouldn't do? Here's what's crazy. I would get naked on the internet for $75 million, dollars, but I would never have Bad Baby's personality for $75 million. Dollars.
That's true. Bad Baby seems, anytime I read Bad Baby stories, it's funny that you say that because every time I read one, I think that's got to be awful to be Bad Baby. Like, because she gets in like real nasty fights. I think she, like one on that I saw a while back, I think she got in a fist fight with her mom. And, and
She should have paid her 5 million bucks and her mom wouldn't be
yeah.
giving her beef anymore.
Well, and who knows if it was staged,
Yeah.
but whatever, like that she knows that's her brand. And so she's keeping on. But at face value, I was like, getting in a fist fight with your parents, like, how do you feel good about your life at all? So you're rich, you've got all this kind of material, value stuff, but your soul is just entirely rotten.
Totally. So that is where I wouldn't, even for 75 million bucks,
Yeah.
if it was like you have to, going back to the conversation from 20 minutes ago about adopting a new personality, if you could just force me to have this new personality, it would not be worth it for the 75 mil.
Nope. Sorry, family. My family, they'd probably say, your personality sucks already, kind of. Like, make it suck a little worse and pay us? Are you kidding? You're turning that down?
Man, so while I understand through this conversation that maybe somebody would pay Shannon Elizabeth money to see her naked because of the nostalgia of their youth, I don't know who would pay Bad Baby a dime to
Yeah.
see her naked. Like, what is the attraction there? She's, first of all, not attractive from my perspective at all. And her personality is so trash. I wouldn't want her to benefit anyway, from the transaction. So what are you even paying for?
I mean, once again, I am regularly reminded that we are living in a worse version of idiocracy. Like, it is honest to goodness, same as watching Ow My Balls or whatever that remember the show they'd watch, where the dude, it was just an actor guy, and the whole thing was he was just get hit in the nuts, and
And
that's
everybody
what
would
everybody
laugh.
watched. Yeah.
We
So,
are.
well, I'm baiting.
We are. This is who we want to make wealthy nowadays.
Exactly. And so like the difference between Bad Baby and Ow My Balls is Ow My Balls is just more entertaining. Like we are a worse version than Idiocracy.
We really are. Well, knowing how much she likes to fight, I really hope she doesn't listen to our podcast because we're now in her target.
No kidding. But maybe her and Igor can do a little joint something together. I bet they'd have a similar fan base.
This makes a lot of sense. This is Igor's next kind of trampoline jump into publicity.
Get Bad Baby, Igor. Off you go.
Bad Baby's always looking, I'm sure, for some angle to work, and he's hot in the news right now, so it makes sense.
Completely.
Well, should we talk about surfing now?
Yeah, let's do it.
How did we do? Man, it is a windy road that we take.
45 minutes.
I've got, this is where all those other surf podcasts can't compete.
You can get your surf a lot of different places, right? Our opinions on surf, I like to talk about it. I like to think about it, but I like to talk and think about other things more. I don't know about more, but equal.
I was thinking about this week. I was showering, deep shower thoughts. And I was like, I'm glad that we've gotten to the point where we're not really reliant on surf news. Because I think the original premise for the show was, let's talk about surf news.
Yeah.
And it's really evolved to where, like, if there's something happening, of course, we're going to talk about it. Like, that helps the show. Or it just, actually doesn't even help the show necessarily. Like, we can live without it entirely. Because, and it's not like the normal conversation is non-surf things or Bad Baby related. It's just surf culture is now the conversation. You know, it's whatever's happening in the news, how that relates to the culture or how the culture has influenced what's happening in the news is kind of the center of the show, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, I think about it all day. I'm working on a book, Decline and Fall of Surfing. And sometimes I think, should I write this? Like, I've already treaded this ground so much. But then I realized that surf culture, I mean, that's what the book is about. It's surf culture. And surf culture has changed drastically in the last, I've been doing this for 20 years now. And from when I started to now, from when I fell in love with surfing as a, 9-year-old, whatever, however old I was, till now, surf culture has changed so radically.
Well, that is the perfect segue to this call. I have a call from CJ Hobgood that I was going to play first, but I'll actually put that back and we'll play that second so that we can play this first call that I think does relate to what you're talking about.
Badass boys, listener line. You know how this works. Hey, listen to fan nationalism. So
I think I mislabeled.
I
mislabeled Let me try the other one that I labeled as CJ because it might be the correct one.
Badass boys, listener line.
Looks like I uploaded both of the same calls.
You can never have too much CJ Hobgood is the lesson learned today.
I'm going to try this one more time. Bear with me.
What if there was 2 CJs and 2 Damians? What if CJ doubled himself and Damien doubled himself, and then there was 4 Hobgoods?
That would be the worst use of a cloning ever. Is if you just clone a twin. Like, we already had 2. This is so stupid. Okay, ready? Yep. I'm going to play the correct call now.
Hey, this is for the grit. In reference to episode 371, where Chaz, I feel like you give great advice, but I have a VAER watches tools to live by. I feel like you missed the mark on this one, so here's a PSA. For the guys out there doing karate in the park, that's a huge barrel. Sure, karate might not be cool, but I think we all need to look in the mirror here and realize that surfing is not cool. Surfers are not cool. They missed, we peaked in the 90s. Everyone thought surfing was cool. Early 2000s, $1 million contracts for being a pro surfer. But look at it now. We've got TikTok influencers. That's the current state of surfing. You said it yourself, core scores down. So the PSA is Don't yuck somebody's yum. As long as they're outside, getting after it, doing something fun, away from the screens, away from the AI, and that's cool, man. But karate's not cool. Surfing is karate. Later. Work.
So I guess we can address the karate thing separately, but where I was connecting this to what you were talking about is when I was young, Spicoli was the stereotype. I mean, maybe that was a little bit before when I was young, but even before Spicoli, like it was so fringe, you know? And then Spicoli was actually a little bit more mainstream, but it was basically you had to be an outcast from society on the fringe pursuing that thing because it meant that you were not working. It usually meant you were smoking pot and then drinking beer at night. And for whatever reasons, it's now a rich kid's sport. Like it used to be, I think, you know, the beach was commerce happened in the city. And then you go out from that and real estate got cheaper and cheaper. And 50 years ago, you could actually have a cottage at the beach for cheap. It was actually, that's where like, you know, again, it was just less expensive. So now it's gone the opposite way to where the coastal living is the most expensive living. And in order to grow up there surfing, you have to have parents who have a $2 million house or whatever the price is. So it is, I think that's part of why it's not cool anymore is it is just, it's not fringe. Or if it's fringe, it's rich kid fringe.
Absolutely. And I've been, again, working on this book and really wrestling with it all day, every day, basically, because I want it to be honest and true. And I want to really drill down on, not just have it be funny, anecdotal, right? And I keep going, or where I've drilled now into, yes, surfing is certainly not cool now. Is the idea of cool, does the idea of cool still exist at all in any kind of way? Or was cool always a trend that had longer legs, but was always going to go away too, where cool is not how we should evaluate things anymore?
I don't think cool can ever go away.
I mean, you don't?
Let me think through this. I'm thinking what's cool to you and I is clearly not cool to the youth.
Yes.
Like Bad Baby to me is unbelievably, she's deplorable, you know? But clearly she's cool to a lot of young people and a lot of dudes who pay her on OnlyFans. So it could be that there's more epicenters of cool now than ever before. Like when we were young, there was a few things that were cool, and there was these big camps. It was like you're either in that camp or this camp. Rollerblading, not cool. You know, rollerblading cool for 1 year, then no longer cool. And now I think there can be micro subcultures of cool.
But when it becomes that diffuse, right? When it becomes that spread out, when there's no general narrative of cool, then does cool actually exist? Now you're in a pocket where you have taste for this thing or that thing, but can you say any of them are cool? I feel that there has to be in order for cool to exist, I would argue, I suppose, there has to be a recognizable, writ large understanding of what we're talking about. We're all on the same idea here, right? Like rock and roll was cool in the day. Nobody thought rock and roll, you maybe didn't like it, but you knew that, that was cool. Now, and I think you need that. I think you need the mass public understanding. Or surfing. Surfing was counterculture. Things that were counterculture, maybe this is more specific. Things that were counterculture were cool, right? Now there's no such thing as counterculture because basically everything is counterculture. The main culture has broken down to nothing.
Yeah. I'm struggling. I'm struggling to think of an example of something that is like cool nowadays for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, like I think music at some level still is but it blows out pretty quick, right? Like I don't know that Drake you know, dropped his big old 3-album series. I don't think Drake is cool, but that's just me, right? But I don't know. I think you have to be kind of an indie musician. Maybe you can still be cool.
Yeah, it's hard. I can't think of anybody.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think. It's just like mono cool needed a monoculture to exist in order to exist against. And now there's nothing to exist against. And back specifically to surfing too. I mean, I think cholera is exactly right. It is karate. And I have to look myself in the mirror that what we do and to think I'm cool in the lineup is to be absolutely delusional. To look around at who's sitting next to you in the lineup and think we're all cool is I mean, just go look around the lineup. I mean, I don't know where everybody's surfing. Maybe if Snapper Rocks behind the rock is your home break, you go look around at the people out there and think, yeah, we're cool. But most breaks in the world, I would imagine, are populated with a real mix of uncool people. But then going further, and this is going to be in the book, I'm going to give a little, should I wreck it now or should I save it? I'll just wreck it now. Chris Carter, creator of X-Files, was a surfing magazine editor for many years. When I went to see the Danny Kwok, the Waves, what's the foundation called?
We Are Ocean.
We Are Ocean. The We Are Ocean. Chris Carter was Chris Carter and Woolley were like the guests of honor. And Chris Carter gave a speech and ended it with what was two of them? There was two, but one of them was kind is the new cool.
Dude, I swear to you, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. There we go.
Like,
you and Chris Carter.
5 minutes ago, and I did not attend that, so I didn't pull from him at all. I've never heard him say that, but that's what the point that I was coming to was in this modern era, I think kindness and like acts of generosity are what feels so counterculture.
Exactly. And so that's what I'm kind of getting. That's the path I'm taking with this book because I was so rage filled about what happened to the thing I love, right? Like I've dedicated my life to this thing, much to everyone's chagrin, much to my parents' chagrin, probably much to the wife's chagrin, like surfing. I've written about surfing. I talk about surfing. Surfing. And then I go surfing and I look around and think, I used to stand on the rock at Steamer Lane and just gaze at the surfers down there and think there is nothing cooler than that. I would do anything to be that. And then I became not a Steamer Lane surfer or a ripper, but I became a surfer and deep into surf culture. And I look around and think, nerd fest. We're a little seahorse, longboard loving, rinse kit using nerd fest. But then going deeper, and that's the journey I'm on to see if kindness is actually the new cool.
Until it's pervasive and then being unkind becomes the new cool, which has had moments of cool for sure in the past.
For sure. Being a soch, what were they called? Not a soch. What were the going and Cool Hand Luke. Perfect example. Cool Hand Luke ripping the heads off parking meters. That was cool. But that's not cool anymore. Being destructive.
Yeah. It's interesting too, just thinking about it sounds absurd to even be talking about what's cool, what's not cool.
Yeah.
Like trying to define it is absurd or feels cringy to me. But then I was like, well, when I was a kid, did I get into surfing because it was cool? Like, because I'm almost embarrassed to admit that I'm influenced in that way, where like you see some guy, like whatever. When I was a kid, I see Brad Pitt and I'm like, whoa, dude, that guy's cool. Like maybe I could dress like him. And it's once you are copying the thing, that's what makes it instantly not cool. Like that's why you and I look around in the lineup and be like, God, it's a nerd fest out here, is because everybody is kind of biting off of the culture or some other version of it that they've seen. The moments where you see actual authentic uniqueness of somebody just doing what they love to do are rare. And then doing it, you know, inevitably, if they are on that path, they do it differently than anybody else. They have their entire own way of being about it. And that's what feels super refreshing. And that is what influenced me when I was a kid and made me want to do the surfing. And inevitably, I probably then tried to replicate them and was instantly uncool. But I think it's that unique authenticity that is what is cool.
Absolutely. I mean, and I can speak for myself at least 100% coming in being a full-on uncool nerd. Like I wanted to be a surfer more than I wanted to surf initially. And I knew that I couldn't be a poser. And so I didn't dislike the surfing, but being a surfer meant more to me than surfing.
Yeah.
Nerd fest. Big old poser.
Well, yeah. Okay. I think, have we put that to bed? Do we move
Sure
on?
have.
Okay. CJ Hobgood coming at you, also coming off of conversation that we had last week, I believe.
Got us, boys. Listener line. You know how this works. Hey, listen to fan nationalism. So, I don't know if you touched on it. Here's a stroke that I paint on everything. I say, when you're a Grom and when you're coming up and when you're trying to make it, you got to be as petty as hell. Everything's got to put a chip on your shoulder, et cetera, et cetera. But once you've made it and you've achieved, you absolutely cannot be petty. Like, no one understands it. If Kevin Durant's got 10 burner accounts, you know, way too petty. He's already made it. If LeBron James is flopping, way too petty. He's already made it. If Brazilian surfers have already won last of the 8 of the 10 titles and they're being petty, no one gets it. No one understands it. And I've even had those conversations. I'm like, man, you guys are like the hottest girl in the room and you're acting like a 2. Like, no one gets it. You've won so much. So, and the best example I can think of in sports, that was someone that was petty as hell, and now they're as gracious as all can be, is Novak Djokovic. And people love him for it. So there you go. Dude made it under 3 minutes. Phew. Do work.
Kept it under 3 minutes.
Absolute great point.
Yeah, so this was obviously, he stated it at the beginning, I don't know if it was crystal clear or not, but this was in reference to our conversation about nationalism and why Brazilian surf fans kind of prioritize their nation state over all other aspects when they're rooting for surfers. Yeah, he does make a good point. I think the problem, though, is people don't realize when they've ascended out of a certain level in the other people's eyes. So, like, they start winning, and from our perspective, we're like, okay, this person's on top of their game now. But in that person's own head, maybe their plan was to win 10 world titles, and they're only at 2 right now. So they think that they're still the underdog because they're trying to get to 10, and they're still being petty. And they want more, but we're like, you've got more than we ever expected you to have, you know?
I mean, to rise to the level that, you know, you're getting talked about nationally or internationally or whatever, to be that kind of, you know, dominant performer, athlete, whatever it is. I think CJ's right? You got to have that extra edge, and, you know, maybe that, like our changing your personality conversation, swapping it out. Maybe that just becomes your personality and you cannot stop, where you basically would have to go to personality rehab, right? Where, like, Kevin Durant, somebody should pull him in and say, Kevin Durant, your pettiness, it got you here, but we got to weed it out now. So we're going to do 5 weeks with Kelly Slater at Rhythmia taking ayahuasca.
Kelly's, interestingly, I was thinking about Kelly when CJ was talking, that Kelly still has some pettiness.
Absolutely.
Like,
Kelly's totally petty.
I don't know if he has burner accounts or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did, you know?
A and B, like, Kelly cannot, I mean, I haven't heard him on the mic, so maybe he has softened in his now expanding fatherhood chapter. But it's almost impossible for Kelly to compliment, you know, we've talked about this in the show. Anytime Kelly's on the mic, it's almost, if not impossible, for Kelly to give a straight compliment to anyone else. There's always shade, always some degree of shade, which is pure pettiness.
But that, I think, is reflective of the point I made after the call, which is in his mind, he's still on the ascent. He's still like trying to achieve the next whatever he's on, not realizing, you know, he's accomplished more than everybody else, anybody around him or anybody that we've ever seen in sports. Like he can turn it off.
I suppose that's
I like turtles.
I suppose that's really what we love, or at least I love, when somebody has achieved, is then that to be followed by a graciousness, right? We want gracious champions, not petty champions.
I agree. I'm now wondering if that is also, this might be responsible for the shift in tone of this very show over the course of the last 8 years. Because I've noticed this a little bit for me personally with my interpersonal relationships in life is I used to have like a little bit more acerbic wit, you know, and I would like make more crass jokes or like gossip about stuff. And it just doesn't fly anymore. Like the exact same joke I used to make 15 years ago, people look at me now and they're just like, why are you such a dick?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, because I am a middle-class white guy with, you know, the trappings of success by other people's kind of measuring stick. And you can't be a dick anymore.
Yeah.
Like you got to be nice all the time.
Yeah, it's a bad look. I mean, yeah, completely. Well, and it's like I used to just be all feisty and fiery, and I still am about some things. But it would be like I'm no longer, you know, kicking cars that speed down the street or throwing e-bike kids off their e-bikes. Like it just it wouldn't look good anymore. I've aged. I've gotten too old to do that.
It's so true. Like we are, even if not on paper or personally successful in the perspective of society, we have all the privilege in the world just by being middle-class white dudes, you know?
Yeah.
In America, basically.
Can't go be raging around the streets anymore. Can't be saying off-color things.
Yeah. And I should also add to that list of privilege, living near the ocean and surfing all the time.
And then
the ultimate luxury.
And then looking around at the people you're surfing with and thinking they're all nerds.
Exactly.
Heavily judging.
We are the tip of the spear in terms of luxury and privilege, I guess.
Yep. We are bad babies.
Bad babies. Just need that OnlyFans money.
Yep.
We really need a catchphrase too. That's the problem too. Like catch me outside. Igor was named Igor. He's just perfectly branded.
Yeah.
Like we don't have that.
Nothing. Nope. We have an exclamation mark at the end that I don't even use anymore.
Yeah. Keep work, I guess, is ours.
Oh yeah.
So we'll just keep doing it. I got another call. Remember this teaser, Curren in the Wild call?
Yes. So anyway, David and Chaz, the moral of the story is immediately after that, and to this day, I made sure I got a first aid kit in my truck. I have packed with Band-Aids. I got gauze. I got ointments. I got it all. I am ready to go. From then on, I was prepared from that event, and I guess that was a Curren in the Wild. Teamwork, boys.
Perfect.
Could not have been better.
So for people who missed last week's episode or they're on Spotify, so they didn't get to hear last week's episode before it got deleted, that was all I got. It was a listener line call that was all like garbled and the connection was bad. And so it cut in and out, couldn't hear any of it. He overran the 3 minutes, then called back and left that 30-second gem, which is like the ultimate teaser. I'm like, bro, I want the story. We discussed that. He called back and gave us the full story. So I could play that for you now.
Can't wait to hear.
Yeah.
There's no way it lives up to
David, Chav, this is Mr. Bones. I guess this is a reverse follow-up call for you. But anyway, maybe 30 years ago, there I was at my little local spot doing a little surf before work, and I just got out of the water, and I got up into my truck and was changing, got out of my suit, sitting on the passenger seat, just finishing up, and back in the day, it was a dirt lot, Not like it is now. It's all paved now, but my little spot was a dirt lot, and in pulls a Dodge Caravan going pretty fast and like kind of screeched to a stop there with dust flying up, and a guy jumps out and says, "Hey, I just cut my finger. Check this out. Do you have a Band-Aid?" And I looked, and he's got a cut, and I looked at him, and I was like, this guy, it kind of seems familiar, but I'm, kind of caught up in the moment. So I started looking for the Band-Aid. I'm looking through my truck. I don't have anything. I don't have a first aid kit. And I told him, "Hey, sorry, I don't have a Band-Aid." He goes, "That's okay." And he jumps into the back of his van, Dodge Caravan, flips it up, and starts changing into a suit and getting his board and everything. I was done, so I started driving away, and it wasn't more than half a block, and I was like, oh, crap. That was Tom Curren. And I got some confirmation later at the local shop that, yes, indeed, he was in town surfing. And so the rest of the story at this point. Hey, keep work.
Amazing, because I was thinking there's no way that the story is going to live up to the tease. As I was listening, I realized if it involves Tom Curren, it lives up to the hype. There is it is so funny that Tom Curren is speeding in, jumping out, and asking for a Band-Aid is amazing, right? I mean,
in a Dodge Caravan too.
And like, who actually needs a Band-Aid? If you're, if it's cut to the point of this is a real problem, then you need something more than a Band-Aid, right? You need, something. But just a Band-Aid is like a weird, and especially a Band-Aid before you're going to go surfing. Like he's suiting up to go surfing.
So the reason we love Tom Curren stories is they always have more questions than answers.
Every time. It's never cut and dry. It's never, ever, it's almost infinite questions I have about this.
Yes. And so it isn't as if, only share your Curren story if it has more questions than answers. It's that every Tom Curren story has more questions than answers, full stop. Anybody who has a story with Curren, they come in with these details that are like, yeah, if the cut was actually bad, why are you still going surfing? Or if it wasn't, then why are you asking a stranger for a Band-Aid?
Exactly.
Also, why did you slide into the lot kicking up dust? Unless it was an emergency and you needed that emergency kit, that would make sense. But no, it clearly wasn't that bad. So why were you speeding? Also, why are you driving a Dodge Caravan? That's just an odd choice,
Every moment is like swaddled in mystery.
It's amazing.
What a weird dude that Tom Curren is. He's cool.
Although I gotta say, I'm not saying that call didn't live up to the hype of the previous teaser call, but I like the teaser call. I think the teaser call kind of stands alone.
Teaser call goes in the archives.
All right, well, good. Thank you for that. And I think I've got some other stuff I'm going to keep aside because we're running long. We did a lot of non-surf talk.
Important.
So we will go to commercial break and we'll come back with some stuff and some barrels or gnaws. All right, Chaz, welcome back.
Glad to be here.
Reminder, if you didn't want to wait a week, we were here last Friday, we're here this Friday, but in between then and now, we recorded 2 other episodes. We recorded an episode of Noble Rot, which is the show that Chaz produces that has nothing to do with surfing. And then we also recorded an episode of Extra Fine Grit over on Patreon.
Go get it. The Extra Fine Grit is a little spicy a meatball.
Spicy meatball, but I got confirmation from, maybe I'll leave him nameless, but somebody, a mutual friend of ours, that they are so glad that we talked about the Sterling Spencer bit because it's been bothering them for some time too.
That's a good tease right there for go sign up to Extra Fine Grit and hear what we were talking about.
Controversy, but nothing related to his ASMR voice. Even more controversial than that, I would say. I also got a note last night from a listener. I'm going to go ahead and read you this DM real quickly. He said, hey, I got my second VAER watch in the mail the other day. That's 2 watches using your guys' code. I hope that helps with the relationship that you have with them. But I had a revelation about VAER and why I'm such a fan of the brand. Also, why I wouldn't be surprised if their prices drastically increased in a few years. The revelation. I've always loved watches and I always wanted a Rolex. Over the years, I bought a few, never really liked them, thought most watches were corny. All the ones that they market as, quote, the same materials and construction as Rolex, but cheaper, are lame. So years back, I was like, all right, the only watch I'm going to wear is a Rolex, nothing else. But then VAER came along. Their branding isn't the just as good as Rolex, but cheap, quote unquote. Their branding is adventure, durability. And they have the coolest design inspiration, military issued, racing, classic racing era, etc. All the classic designs, which are rad. Anyways, I've had 3 buddies who are rich trust fund kids from California buy VAERs because they've seen mine. And they also own multiple expensive watches and they love the VAERs. Pretty rad, dude. Absolutely no rush to read this or respond because it's a very long text, but thanks again for the discount code.
Boom. Hammertown right there.
Yeah, I agree with everything that he said. And I was like, I responded, I'm like, that luxury watch market is so predicated on hype. Like, even if you're buying like precious metals watches, like gold watches or whatever, like the manufacturing cost is so small compared to the prices that they charge for those watches. And that delta is just hype. And the watch collectors out there love feeding into the hype. Like they're like, oh, that watch used to be 10,000. Now it's 30,000. I want it even more. And it's like, you're a sucker. You are an absolute sucker. That brand is getting super wealthy off of you creating your own hype that you are then eating.
And also I think back to the conversation, cool. Like if you're buying a status watch, right? You don't buy a status watch and wear it quietly around your house and then take it off and go out into the world. Your whole point in buying a status watch is for people to look at you and think, wow, look at that dude's watch, right? That is totally uncool. VAER, if you buy a VAER, you buy it because the watch is good, right? You're not out there saying, hey, look at me. You're saying, I like this watch for myself because this watch is functional. This watch looks good. I like the way it looks, but it's all for you. You're not buying it for, the check stand person at the grocery store. But inevitably, I mean, I've had all kinds of compliments on my VAER.
Me too.
Like
I got this one that has a cool colored dial. I think they called it coral. It's kind of between red and orange. All the time, people mention it. They're like, that's a cool color. I'm like, thanks, man.
Yeah.
And durable as could be, like stainless steel. This thing doesn't have a scratch on it, and I've had it for years now. It's automatic movement too. So automatic movement, just like the fancy Swiss stuff that you would spend a ton of money on, but significantly less expensive. So
great watches.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor. And by the way, the discount code that he was talking about, VAERwatches.com/surfsplendor. So you go through that portal and you get 15% off. So thanks, VAER. We love you. And by the way, I've been watching Stab Magazine's podcast almost weekly. They had Jordy Smith on this week. And they are now sponsored by VAER. In the middle of the show, Damian Farrenfort cut to commercial and he talked about his VAER watch. So
if it's good enough for Damian Farrenfort, the world needs more Damian Farrenfort. I'm so happy that Stab is doing that podcast and that Duma is on the mic.
And he's at Stab High right now commentating too.
Love me some Doom.
All right. Let's do some barrels or nas. Barrel or not? Believing in the idea of soulmates.
I'm going to say barrel because guess what?
What?
I've been watching the Martin Short doco. It's fantastic. But he and his Dunan something. He and his wife had like soulmate vibe energy, and everyone around them said, right? Like everyone was recognizing it. and I can't remember who it is that says, but he said maybe it was Steve Martin. But anyway, it was somebody, but like he said, there's couples who talk like this way and they, have their different experiences. And then there's couples who talk to each other. And I think that would be the definition of a soulmate. So I don't know that there's necessarily, I wouldn't say that there's one person on earth for you. That style soulmate. Is that what you mean?
No.
But I think there are people that you have, it works at a deeper level that goes beyond explanation, that goes beyond the simple, she's pretty and she's smart and I like this part about her personality, where it's a deeper level than that, which I would then attach that to the soulmate kind of relationship level.
I don't know Doonan or who you're talking about, but I thought you told me last week that Martin Short was with Meryl Streep.
He was. Martin Short has the rough go. His wife died of cancer, I think 30 years ago, a long time ago. But they were like it. I mean, during the doco, who was it? It was Catherine O'Hara. It's a fantastic doco. Highly recommend watching it. Made me love Martin Short times 10. But Catherine O'Hara, the actress who was in, Home Alone and all the great Best in Show and Waiting for Guffman and all that kind of stuff. She said that her and her husband went through a rough patch, she said, and they were in therapy. And the therapist said, identify a couple that you would like to be like. And she said, Martin Short and his wife. And the therapist said, you don't know how many times I hear that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So he seems like a real good dude, that Marty Short.
He really does. Yeah. Did you like Three Amigos?
I loved it. Right. Like, and I think it's funny. They talk about it in the doco. I forgot that Three Amigos, like obviously it felt cult classic-y when I watched it as a kid. Like I didn't even really know what a cult classic was, but I loved it as a kid. But I guess it got fully critically absolutely panned, which I wasn't reading movie reviews back then. It was just like a full-on critical bomb.
But it's since the critics, I mean, I would imagine the critics recognize the error of their ways in the subsequent decades.
You would hope. I would like to read a new review on Three Amigos. I'd like to rewatch Three Amigos, to be quite honest.
Me too. Do you know what joke? I was a kid. I watched it a lot when I was a kid, and I haven't seen it in 30 years. But do you want to know the joke that I thought was so hilarious?
Tell me.
They see an airplane going by in the sky, and I think it's Martin Short. He goes, "Hey, that's a mail plane." And then Chevy Chase is like, "How could you tell?" He goes, "Oh, couldn't you see his little balls?" Do you remember that?
Oh, no, but really funny. Classic. I thought their done thrust thing was like the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
I remember plagiarizing that joke. Like I went to school the next day and I was like, oh man, I'm on the playground. I'm like looking for airplanes. I'm hoping an airplane flies by so I can bust that joke out.
Really funny.
Okay, well, back to soulmates then. I agree with your definition of it. And I agree also, when I was a kid, I thought it was like, there's one person on the planet. Yeah. And then there was like, the race is on to find this person. And I hope that they don't live in China, But no,
I've pretty racist of you. Of young David Lee.
I really hope I don't have to marry a Chinese person. No, that is not it. But I have updated my feelings on it over the years and definitely agree with you where it's like there can be a multitude of people. And I think that connection that you're talking about actually changes for you as you age or change. Like, the thing that might resonate between two souls now, you might have not been ready for 10 years ago had you met that person, or she or he was in a different spot 10 years ago as well, and you were on different paths. And so that's where I've also identified how important timing is in life. And it's random. It's like you can't predict it or you can't pick it. You can't choose for it or prioritize for it. It's just you meet people at a certain time where you're both kind of on a certain trajectory that does. And I don't think that you even necessarily stay on that trajectory always forever. So like some relationships could be a soulmate situation for 5 years or 2 years or 20 years, or you don't know when the off ramp is. And hopefully, you know, you can make it last forever if it's that meaningful, but it doesn't always. And that's okay too, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I do think that, you know, when you have that deeper connection, that, you know, obviously then the relationship is stronger and can withstand more, you know, hopefully pressure. But yeah, of course, sometimes people just change again and off they go.
Have, if you don't mind saying on air, how many times in your life do you feel like you've had that experience?
With a woman,
Not necessarily.
yeah, I feel like I have it with my friends, my two like Josh and Nate, Middle East friends, that we've been, you know, just in this constant kind of dialogue for the last 30 plus years. And so I feel that has that kind of element to it. And then soulmate, I'm going to just say once.
That's amazing.
I'm going to say with the wife. Yeah, I think
I hope.
yeah. You know, I've
I wasn't even going to ask.
yeah, and I guess it's silly to look back and discount the other ones, but looking back, I don't even think in the moment I felt we have this deep, deep connection. I felt we had a connection, but not this deep, deep, deep connection.
Yeah.
How many times you?
I've had it a couple of times where I knew from the moment I saw the person, like even like from a distance away, that it was like almost a premonition that they were going to be meaningful in my life. Like it was like almost as if I had already lived a certain amount of life in the future. And now I'm seeing that person and it's like a reminder of like, oh, this is a person you love deeply.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was literally the moment I saw a couple of different times this person. It's happened a couple of different times, so it's different people, but it was like the moment I see him, it is like an innate premonition that it's like, woo, woo, like this, like crazy experience.
Well, and to discount that too, I mean, I just read New York Times just the other day where I guess scientists have discovered a whole system in your body that they didn't know existed before. Like a whole different, I can't remember what exactly it was, but they were like, whoa, this is what kind of like Eastern medicine people may be talking about is this, you know, and science just discovered it.
Fascinating.
Where, yeah, if you're just like only dealing on, there's, you know, no energy, there's no vibrate, you know, and you don't have to be all witchy woo, I think, but I guess leaving the door open for, or just even leaving, everyone should always have the door open to, I don't know everything, right? There could be, so this energetic flow between two people, you know, could be a real thing.
I believe it. I've experienced it.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Well, hard pivot to barrel or not number 2. I'm not going to read what it is. I'm going to read this story before I give you the barrel or not. This actually was emailed to you as well, but he said, I was in the gymnasium the other day, which I love that he called it a gymnasium. And when he wrote that, I'm like, okay, this guy's got to be from like maybe Wales or like, I don't know why I thought Wales. I'm like in the UK, maybe they use the word gymnasium. And then I get to the bottom and it's Eric from Neptune Beach, Florida. Like, why are you saying gymnasium? Anyways, he said, I was in the gymnasium the other day, finishing up a workout. I walk into the sauna and bam, there's a man sitting there bare naked, bearing all for everyone to see. He could have easily wrapped that towel he was sitting on around his waist just to show a bit of decency and modesty, but he chose not to. So my barrel or not is this: excessive nudity in the locker room. Where is the line here? I'm not a total prude, and I don't think that you need to cover up completely when you're changing your clothes, but if you've got a towel, I think a better place for it would be around your waist than over your shoulder to spare the rest of us from seeing things that we don't really want to see. So barrel or not, excessive nudity in the locker room or changing room or other public space. Love the show. Keep it on work. Eric in Neptune Beach.
Thank you, Eric. I am a full no barrel on excessive nudity. I am like, and this is maybe a product of age, but I think I've always been this way. And it's not necessarily just prudishness. It is decency, decorum, right? Like I look back at pictures of the 40s when, and we've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, but like when men wore suits and when, there was just this decorum, all of that is so degraded in our society. We dress like slobs now. We wear, if it's not comfortable, I'm not wearing it style. We look crappy. We act crappy. We generally eat crappy as a society. There's like just food and mouth. Duh, duh, duh. And I feel excessive nudity is the same thing. You're just being like, there's a way to be in a locker room and not to be overly sensitive about, because being all sensitive about nudity in, amongst your own sex particularly is silly too. That's immature, right? To go into the locker room and inside. But there's a way to do it where, yeah, sure, you get naked, you change, but you do it quickly. You do it appropriately. You don't sit spread eagle in the sauna with a towel over your shoulder. All of these things. You just have some class.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the times have changed. Like I grew up in an era where we did not have nudity in our high school locker room. We didn't have to shower actually. So I think that like the previous generation did grow up with that. And so there's a certain, I think that they were just more comfortable, and that may be reflected in this story. This guy in the sauna, maybe he grew up this way and that is the way that you did things back then.
But I had to go shower. I remember the shock of it, right? As sixth grade is when that started. And you got to go into the locker room, get naked and shower, and you had to do it, right? The PE teacher would stand there because there was the kids who were such torture, pointless torture, right? Like the poor fat kid, the PE teacher would be just standing there, like glowering at him. And the kid was just like digging his heels in. That's the last thing he wanted. And it's not like that fat kid gets, oh, well, you got some backbone now because you just went and did it, right? No, that kid just got absolutely mentally abused. And then he goes in the shower and he does get made fun of in the shower, gets snapped on the butt. All of it is a disaster. Just for what? For what? Like a weird era. But I'm saying it was the kids there who were aggressively naked, I feel were jerks.
Were there aggressively naked kids?
I guess not. There was the clowny naked people. I always liked those guys though. Those guys were funny.
I think despite the age or generational differences, I think that society has developed away from nudity for a reason, like nude beaches used to be all, more prevalent than they are now kind of a thing. But I think that society's developed away from it because there is something sacred about nudity. Nudity is obviously very directly related to sex and procreation. And those are sacred acts that are reserved for intimate moments with your closest partner, and the adjacency there to the nudity should be reserved. Like that's an area that is kind of like preserve it. Don't showcase it for everybody. Keep it special, basically.
The nudists who have totally divorced nudity from sex, I think you guys are blowing it. Like you should, like, I fully get who cares? It's just a body. We all have bodies. We all have the same, we all have parts. So you are not degrading, but you're just making something basic. Like let's treat nudity with, let's make it special. Everything else is basic already. Why does this have to be basic too?
I think that's exactly how I feel about it. I think also I've gotten to the point of maturity where I don't really want to see random people naked. And I could always say that probably about guys. I don't think guys are attractive. Their nudity is not attractive to me. Women, I've always found nudity to be attractive. Strangers, I used to find as attractive if they were nude. Like the idea of going to a nude beach and seeing naked chicks was like, sweet, I think I've matured to the point where even that doesn't appeal to me anymore.
Well, what was the show that we were both shocked by?
Naked Attraction.
Naked Attraction. So we talked about this a couple months or a year or something ago, where it's a British game show. I think it was British, right?
Australian maybe, or British maybe.
I think it was British. But
Might be British.
it starts with your knees and then it goes up to your waist and then, and it's men and women. And I can only watch that show like a half once. I've never gone back, right? And even on the women, it's just like, I don't know, like I get it. We all have bodies and it's, but preserving, a little bit of sacredness around nudity and that show to me totally proved it, where it's like not titillating. It's like, oof.
I agree. Yeah, it is British, by the way. I agree. I had the exact same experience. I watched it almost as a homework assignment because we had talked about it, but I felt the same way. There was no titillation for me. Like
Zero.
it was just non-sexual and made me feel like I was prying too closely into somebody else's intimacy.
Yep. That's the way I felt too.
Strange.
Weird.
Strange to evolve to a point where you don't want to see naked women.
That's true.
Or naked or strangers.
Naked strangers.
Is what I should say. If you would have
Naked
told a
baboons.
young David Scales that, I would never have believed you. Okay, moving on. Never having snapped a board, barrel or not. I've been checking or catching up on extra fine grit, and in one of the episodes entitled "We Need to Talk About Surfboard Dings," you talked about dings and broken boards, etc. And it left me thinking, am I doing something wrong if I've never snapped a board? Is it adjacent to never getting a barrel? Is it a necessity to snap at least one surfboard while surfing, obviously, to help crawl one's way out of the lower rungs of being rubbish? I fear that I may be missing out on an essential piece of the surf experience, or should I just be thankful that I've been this lucky so far? What does it all mean? Help, work, James in San Sebastian.
San Sebastian, James, thank you so much. It's not necessary at all, I don't think, because especially depending on what you're riding, right? If you're like on a fish or something, it's very difficult to snap a fish. I've snapped one board. Guess what it was, David Lee Scales?
A longboard.
Exactly. That's the only board I have snapped. So you can snap longboards, you can snap high performance, lightly glassed thrusters. But I think how do you snap a mini Simmons?
No, or a mid-length,
Yeah.
anything heavily glassed or weighty. How did you snap a longboard?
I think I drove the nose into drove the nose into the sand or something, or on a wipeout. I think it hit the sand.
Gotcha.
It wasn't me doing an air and landing in the flats.
I think to answer his question directly of should I be thankful that I've been lucky thus far? Yes, you should be thankful you've been lucky thus far, and hopefully you never snap a board. Never break a bone. You should be so lucky to never break a bone, never get in a car crash, and never snap a surfboard.
Car crash for sure, except the broken bone bit. I'm going to say, if you haven't broken a bone, have you really pushed yourself to the limit?
Well, that's what he's asking.
Exactly. So I suppose I'm going to go back now and say, depending on what you're riding and what kind of conditions you're surfing. If you're on a thruster and you're riding kind of thumpy, barreling beach break, I'm going to say shame on you for not breaking a board.
Yeah, and I think you can survive your whole life riding thumping, barreling beach breaks on thrusters and still never break a board. You could even wipe out. You could even...
Really?
I think you can. Yeah, I think it's kind of random when boards break.
I
What
feel
if he's just riding? What if he's getting a new board every 2 months?
Okay, but if you're on a thruster and you ride it, for a couple years in thumpy, barreling beach break, it's going to break.
Yeah, if you're riding the same board for that extended period of time, it would.
Yeah.
But maybe he's getting new boards frequently.
Or maybe he's sitting out the back and being scared.
Maybe he's making every wave and not eating it.
That doesn't happen.
And
Because if
not
you're
having
making every
to
wave and not eating it, that means you have not pushed yourself yet to the limit. You're safety surfing.
So you think it is a guarantee that you will break a board if you're pushing?
In thumping,
to the fringe
barreling
of your
beach
line.
break, yes, it is. If you didn't break a board, you're not pushing it. You're not actually, you're not taking off on closeouts and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know San Sebastian super well, but I don't know any thumping, barreling beach breaks there.
But he can go up to Hossiger, which is a thumping, barreling beach break.
Yeah. I'm going to say you can have a super meaningful surf experience for your entire life and never break a board. I think you're fine.
I mean, I just think that this one's heavily caveated, though. For me, it is barrel to not break a board unless thumping, barreling, beach break, and you ride a thruster.
Okay, fair enough. I have not broken a surfboard in a very long time. I'd say well over 10 years.
Get yourself a longboard, David Lee Scales, and go over the falls.
I bashed up a longboard pretty good within the last 10 years. And I still have it. My wife wants me to throw it away. Cause I'm also not getting it fixed, but I was nose riding in front of a jetty and I ate crap, or I was trying to nose ride in front of a jetty and I ate crap and came up and I saw the thing going straight for the rocks and I was like, no. And it fully hit in the worst possible way. Like the tail is completely like demolished, flipped up. The side of the rail got bashed. The front of it got bashed. It's just like a disaster. And I was like, I knew when I was trying to nose ride in that moment, like on this section of the wave, I was like, this is so dumb. Like, actually, maybe my confidence was the problem, but I was like, I should not be doing this with no leash in this position on the wave with the jetty right there. Sure enough, ate it. Sure enough, worst case scenario.
It always feels really good when you know you shouldn't do something right before you do it. It's not like you're doing it and thinking, oh, this is a bad idea. You think that's going to be, what I shouldn't do right now is start walking out to the nose. And then all of a sudden your feet start moving. Like, wait a second, why am I doing this? But you just can't stop.
No. And in my head, I was like, well, I'll just make sure, like if I'm falling, to grab the board.
Yeah.
And then I fell in such a way that it was just like yard sale, no chance at all. Like as I'm falling, I'm like, I don't even have a chance of grabbing this thing. Might have been the last time I longboarded, to be honest, because that was my only longboard and I've never been able to ride it since.
Well, sorry. Devin Howard, calling you.
But that's not a snapped board, of course. That is just a damaged board. Snapping it clean is a little different experience. All right. Well, hey, man, we did some great work here today.
I think we did. It was a journey.
Covered a lot of ground. You know, my show notes are so different than what we actually end up producing.
Great.
Going far-ranging directions. All right. Well, I'm going to log back into Stab and see who wins there. And then we'll check in on the New Zealand event. Is
it supposed to be off for the next couple days?
I have no idea.
Okay, bummer.
It should be off for the duration of the event. The forecast. All right, Chaz, great show. Anybody wants more, go to Extra Fine Grit, and we'll see you there. Otherwise, we'll be on Noble Rot on Monday or Tuesday.
Keep work.
Until then.